Hey Tarot friends, it's Dustin from Modern Metaphysical, and today I thought we could hang out and take a trip through the J.K. Waite Tarot. This is a vintage out-of-print deck that is no longer available, and in fact, the publishing company for this deck is no longer in existence, so the chances of getting this deck reprinted are pretty slim to none. But I wanted to share it with you because I'm so excited about it, and it was a gift to me for my birthday, which was the 17th. This deck I have been looking for a while now. It's been one that I have constantly searched eBay and Etsy and any number of other platforms in the search of. It's one that I think is probably one of my favorite clones of the Rider-Waite Tarot, and I'm so excited to share it with you today. As always, I'll put information about this deck down in the description box below, where you'll also find links to my social media and my personal website where you can book a personal reading with me if you're interested in that. So be sure to check that out at the end of the video. And as always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. So let's dive into this. Like I was saying, this is a vintage out-of-print deck. These decks are pretty hard to come by these days, and I was very fortunate to have found this copy through a seller on eBay who happened to have it. It wasn't even listed. I was inquiring about another deck, and he mentioned that he had this one, and I snagged it up. And I am so excited about this. So it comes in this really cool tuck box. It's not really a tuck box because it has this like snap on the top, which I just think is so cool. If we have to have tuck boxes in the world, I'm okay with this one. As you can see, it just says tarot on the cover. It has a pentacle and then the publisher, which I believe is Teriku Shoba. And like I was saying, this company no longer exists. They publish this deck, some different card games, and manga for some time. And then they eventually kind of collapsed and went out of business, I think in the 90s. But yeah, this deck is so cool. So the box, really cool, really excited about it. Now, this deck does usually come with a book. There's 4 editions of this. The first edition has this backing here. The second edition, third, and fourth edition all have similar backings to the yellow box Rider with a sort of plaid design. It's a little different though. I think it's more of like a red peachy color. But this is the first edition. The book that comes with it is completely in Japanese. The seller didn't have the book for this one, and I was totally okay with that because I can't read Japanese. I would love to learn though. But this is the box. I absolutely love it. The card backs, as you can see, have the Star of David on the back, which is just really cool. And this is a really well-loved deck. As you can see, the sides are nice and aged. There's chipping along the backs. The cardstock is, it's okay. It's not amazing cardstock, but it's not bad either. It's very vintage, kind of almost US Games feeling cardstock. Very standard for decks produced, mid 70s to early 80s. But this is definitely a well-loved deck. Now, let's look at the beautiful artwork. As always, we will do a flip through, but before we dive into the flip through, as you can see, when I say it's a Rider clone, the cards themselves follow the sort of traditional design of Pixie's artwork, but you can see that they've been completely kind of reimagined and redrawn, which is the one thing that I really kind of enjoy about it. There's some different things added, of course. There's a different symbol on this bag. There's a butterfly now, but as you can see, right, the artwork is pretty similar, but updated and different, and has a very 70s vibe, which I kind of enjoy. So let's do our flip through, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about all the things that I love about this deck. So that is the JK Waite Tarot. I just think this is such a beautiful and unique deck that just really showcases the beauty behind Pixie's design and artwork, but really enhances it and kind of makes it its own. The colors in these cards are just so bright and beautiful and bold. It is very much a product of its time, being from the 70s. I do really like the inclusion of the Hebrew letter on the major arcana cards, and I just think, you know, there's so much similarity, but there's so many sort of differences between this and Pixie's artwork that I just think it's so cool to look at both of them side by side, and maybe I'll do a video on that sometime. But like there's a lean towards Pixie's design aesthetic, obviously, but then there's these really kind of interesting nods towards things like the Thoth and other more esoteric decks where, you know, the Sun card traditionally in Pixies just has a one single child riding on a white horse with a banner, but here we have a nod to sort of the solar twins and things like that. So I just think that's really fascinating. But the color choices, the line work, the sort of redesign of Pixie's artwork, I just think is beautiful. I really love how in this one the skeleton is unarmored, which I think is really interesting. You really get the sense of the scale of the figure of death in this card for some reason compared to the traditional RWS card, right? You don't get that sense as much. Obviously it is pretty much the same scale, right? But it was something that really struck me when I saw this card, was that the scale of death compared to the figures in the scene is just really powerful. And the color choices here I just really love. The Eight of Cups, as we all know, is one of my favorite cards, and you know, again, a lot of the cards in this deck take Pixie's sort of foundation and they reverse it and sort of adjust some of the elements of the scene, either by zooming in on them or making them more prominent, which I really enjoy it. I think it's just such a unique, beautiful expression of the classic Rider Tarot, which I just think is really cool. The aces are all really interesting and have, you know, some very distinct details that again are a nod to Pixie's artwork, but very much uniquely their own. The coloration, beautiful, right? Here in the Three of Swords, we have almost this rainbow effect in the clouds, which is really interesting and kind of gives a new way of looking at this card, right? That subtle just shift in color can really transform how a card is read or how one might perceive a card, right? Which I just think is just really, really unique about this deck. And it's something that I just really, really adore. So I'm really excited to have this. It is, like I said, a pretty difficult deck to find. So if you are interested in getting a copy of this deck, you know, set up your notifications on eBay, hunt eBay every night before you go to bed. You know, I've been looking for this deck for almost 4 years now, and it just came into my life, and I couldn't be happier with this edition of the deck, right? I don't mind not having the book. I love the fact that this deck is really well worn, right? The cards, you know, obviously have been used and shuffled, but they've been tenderly used and well taken care of, which is just something that I really appreciate. So I hope you enjoyed checking out this vintage JK Waite Tarot with me. Let me know what you think of the deck in the comments below, or if you have an edition of this. Like I said, there are 4 editions with slightly different backs and book setups and things like that. I would love to hear what your thoughts are about this deck, and I hope all of you are doing well and are safe and healthy. And as always, remember, everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind, always. Bye, everybody.